Reduce your Betfair trading losses, guys. Here is how. If you're losing on Betfair at all, then here is how to handle it. This is the second part of a 3-part series where I'm giving you the tools that you need to become a better changer. A better changer? A better trader. Because basically what I meant to say there was question 4 is a game changer, although question 5 is that proper boom, boom, boom haymaker, right? If you do that one, if you do question 5, right, I'm not going to lie, it's going to hurt like freaking hell. But honestly, I'm going to come in, honestly, it's got the power to change your trading life. Should we get into it? Remember, I have notes in front of me, and if you're the kind of person that gets annoyed because I've got to look at my notes, then basically you're probably not the best person to be on this channel, because I'm not Brad Pitt. I don't look like Brad Pitt, but I cannot memorize this script either, and these questions. So I do need to go here. I promise I will look at the lens as much as I can. Let's get cracking. Last week's one was part 1, which was all about your strategy. I will leave that one in the description so that you can watch that as well if you haven't already. Okay, now this one, all about reducing losses. Losses are horrible things, but what we're going to try to do with this one is reduce them. Now, trading is really, really hard because it's hard to take the wins first and foremost, because you get greedy and you're like, oh, I could probably get a little bit more, and you just don't know when to sort of get out, and it's just, losses are even worse because you basically have to go, hey, I was wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. I was wrong. And it hurts. But you also then have that battling emotion of, it's not that much money. Look, I used a decent stake, but it's not that much money. It's not really that much, is it? So I'll just leave it because, well, it's not real until I trade out, is it? It's not real. And also, it might come back. It might come back around. Wrong. It's not going to happen, okay? Let's work through these questions. Just like last week, I am not going to give you my opinion on them. I'm just going to give you the questions straight, because there's no right or wrong answers here. These questions are for you and for you only. You don't need to overthink them, and you don't need to worry about looking stupid. There's no right or wrong answer with them, okay? Question number 1. How do you handle yourself when on a losing streak? So the things that you need to think about here are, when do your emotions take over? When does logic leave? When does it leave the room and never come back? What have you stopped doing that you were doing before? Are you just trading on hope now? What didn't you see then that you see now? So think back to those losing streaks. What do you see now then? What didn't you see then, that you are now seeing? And at what point did you lose your focus? Was it after 1 losing trade, or 2, or 3? Or was it over this side on a percentage of the bank? 10%, 5%, 3% loss, etc., etc., etc. When did you lose that focus? Did you freak out and just totally avoid trading? Or did you try and understand it and break it down? Question number 2. What have you learned from your worst trade recently? Now, I don't want my worst trade ever. I want a trade that was your worst one recently, last couple of weeks or so, because it's fresh. What could you have done differently? Was it a bad trade, or was it just you? What happened? Was there something you could have done better? Did you get out too late? Did you break your rules? And what have you learned? Now, the way I want you to, whatever's best for you with these questions, but the best way that I have found is actual pen and paper to do these, not to type them out, because there's something psychologically that goes on when you actually write stuff down, and that has been scientifically proven. Andrew Huberman has said that and has proved that. Big Andrew Huberman podcast fan over here at BTC. Both me and Adam love him. Also, let me know in the comments below, guys, what podcast do you listen to? Give me some ideas. I'm always on the hunt for a new podcast to listen to, or a good YouTube channel to watch, okay? Now, remember, if you do want the questions, I'll give you this sheet with all of these questions on. You can have it. It's not on the same one as last week, though. So you got to comment the word questions, and I will give you this sheet with the questions, okay? Question number 2 is done. Question number 3. What's the difference between a run of losses and a bad strategy? Now, I want you to really, really think about this one, okay? How do you know it's just variance and not the strategy? Again, no right or wrong answers. What I'm trying to do with these questions is just give you prompts so that you can ask yourself, and it will uncover how you're thinking so that you will actually then be able to refer back to these and have a little bit more logic about your losses, your strategy and your mindset, etc., so that you'll actually be able to understand yourself and your strategy more. Also think about, is there something wrong with the approach to these trades? How am I approaching these trades? Is that wrong or right? Again, no right or wrong answer. Every strategy has variance. How do you handle that in comparison to the losses? How do you do that? Now, question 4, which I told you was a good one. How do you keep moving forward instead of changing strategy? I see so many traders who don't move forward. They change their strategy and they abandon their strategy way too soon. Not going to be you, Pedro, because you are going to know the answers to these questions that I'm going to give you now. So when you have a loss, what do you look for that tells you to keep moving forward with the strategy? What do you look at? What could you look at that would tell you to keep using this strategy? You know, something that tells you that your approach and logic is sound. When do you shift and change? When do you decide, I'm going to change the strategy a little bit? And how do you note that down? How do you reconcile that with the rest? Reconcile, that's a fancy word for me, isn't it? How do you reconcile that with the rest of your results that you've been gathering? How do you note that change? How many losses are you going to go through? How long do you give it before you change the strategy a little? And at what point do you totally give up on this strategy? You know, is it just you saying, I can't do this anymore? Or is there a percentage loss of the bank where you go, no, I'm done. No, I'm just done. Is there something that could tell you to give up? You know, something that might happen with a certain market, or I don't know, anything that you can think of. Now, question 5, this is that haymaker. This is the one that is gonna hurt like hell, but you need, this is my favorite one, and you need to do this one. Basically, well, you need to do them all, and they all work in order, and they're put in this in a sequence on purpose because they start softly, and then the last one is that haymaker that hurts. And I'm going to drop it now, okay? Is your relationship with wins different to your relationship with losses? Oh, just saying that one out loud gives me chills. Right, this one is my favourite. Do you approach trading as just a numbers game, or do you have wildly different emotions swinging? Oh, whoa, I'm happy over here. And oh my God, I'm so miserable. I'm Eeyore over here and I'm Tigger over here. So do you have wild emotional swings when you go through a series of losses and a series of wins versus a series of wins? Okay. Is that hurting your trading? Are you a better trader because you are indifferent about your losses and the wins? Is there something you feel you could do to feel different about the wins and the losses? Should you have the same relationship with the wins and the losses? How is your relationship with the wins and losses different? What do you want that relationship to be going forward? How are the better traders that are around you handling the wins and the losses? How do you want to handle them? Really straightforward, really simple. Now, I know with this series that 99.99% of you aren't going to do the work required. Just a simple fact. That's what I think. But if you do it, honestly, it's going to put you... I think this is potentially the best video series I've ever produced. It's the best because I think it has that much power. I think this can hold that. The question that everybody wants to know is, you know, the mindset. How do you get better at mindset with trading? And I can't do it for you. That's the big elephant in the room. But these questions, they do it. So yeah, bookmark this and go for it. Now, I always give you a word at the end of the video. It's great, and then you comment, and it's great to know that you got to the end of the video. And I hope some of you watch just to try and find out what the word is. And I wonder as well if some of you try and guess the word. Let me know. Do you try and guess the word during these videos? You're like, oh, I think Ryan's going to make us say this word. Today's word is haymaker. You comment that below. It lets me know that this was a decent video and that you got to the end of it. But also, more importantly, I'm not just then staring at a camera or a screen. I get to see the pictures of your profiles. I get to see the names of your profiles. So actually, when I'm doing these videos, it does feel a lot more personal, and it does feel a little bit like I know you. So comment the word haymaker. Remember, if you want the questions, if you want this Google Doc with the questions on, comment the word questions and I will get it to you. Okay? I'll see you very, very soon next week with the last one, the part 3. And that's all about the mindset. We're going to wrap it up, put a bow on it. This 3-part series is world class, I think, for traders' mindsets and their strategies. I'll see you very, very soon.